We have fanboys, we have shills, and now we have the game journalists. This comes from 24/7 or VG 24/7 by the journalist Kirk McKeand. It's about hate. The Last of Us Part 2 has brought out the worst of us. If anything, The Last of Us Part 2 has shown us how bad a studio has become. The working conditions, the storytelling, and of course the wonderful use of legal power to DMCA content online to control the message. To control leaks that is sad. It's bad that they got leaked. It's always a bad thing. But forcing people to take down news stories, content or otherwise, just talking about the leaks, not actually showing them, is a huge, disgusting move. I'm still fighting off a copyright strike, which I didn't originally fight because it was just a parody. I thought that was funny, even though it falls under fair use. Parody and fair use are pretty good brothers there. They're pretty tight. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to delete that video. It wasn't mine to begin with. I thought it was cute. And I still have a copyright strike. So I just right now filed the takedown or the counterclaim saying, hey, I have a strike. The video's dead. There's nothing to worry about. I'm not going to put it back up. Go ahead and take it down, please. And they have to comply within a week or two, whatever it is. Instead of me waiting for months and months till August comes by to get the strike rescinded. So anyway, let's get to the article here. This is a story about hate, an intense, harrowing, and emotional adventure, said The Last of Us 2's creative director. He might have been talking about the game's themes, but it could easily be a description of everything that's been happening these past few weeks. Yes, as a result of Naughty Dog, not the fans, not the critics, not the news organizations like VG 24/7. It's because of the reaction of Naughty Dog that has been bad. When you disable comments, when you disable like and dislike ratios, and when you showcase yourself as an ideologue as opposed to a producer of quality products, then people are going to get upset. If you're not up to speed, here's the lowdown. Earlier this year, Kotaku released a report about the working conditions at Naughty Dog. The article paints a picture of simultaneously the best and the worst workplace in the world, which is logically contradictory. Crunch is a horrible thing at Naughty Dog. A lot of people leave or don't even want to join. There's a problem with senior staff members being either not enough of them, and a lot of juniors being asked to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And a lot of time is spent teaching the juniors how to use the internal tools that the seniors have been using. They do try to take care of you, providing food, encouragement, and go take breaks, said the one former developer. But for the most part, the implication is get the job done at all costs. Yeah, that's pretty much every job ever. Just get it done fast as possible. Don't want to pay you anymore. The main symptom of this heavy workload is talent churn. That's one of them. After work wrapped up on Uncharted 4, 70% of the non-lead designers left the company. We all know this. Bruce Straley departed shortly after the game shipped, apparently burnt out. So this guy's admitting this is a problem. Okay? They haven't learned their lesson. They haven't taken the time to treat their workers right or to have proper projections on release dates. There are legitimate concerns about the well-being of the workers, but these concerns have been co-opted and used as an excuse to act abhorrently by a vocal portion of the audience. Now, I don't know what that means, because by act abhorrently means someone is conducting actions as opposed to voicing an opinion in a vociferous or rather insightful way. And you're allowed to do that in public. You're allowed to say whatever you like, hopefully, nicely, not as loudly, but when you're online, you get to say whatever you want and write it down. Just over a week ago, there was a huge leak. Important scenes were leaked in their entirety. So he's admitting it's the whole entire, there's a lot of content there. And the whole premise of the game was laid bare. Rumors began circulating at the time that this was the work of a disgruntled employee who hadn't been paid. Over the last couple of days, it has become apparent that isn't the case at all. According to your opinion, the rest of us who know a little bit about software development and a little bit about how you actually build games know a bit better. The leak was the work of hackers who had used an exploit in a patch to a previous Naughty Dog game. And here's a great rundown by Pixel Butts, if you want to go through that. Still, despite this proof to the contrary, it's not proof to the contrary, it's more proof. It doesn't contradict that it wasn't done by a developer, because the content therein, when you analyze the date, the timestamps, the actual dev builds, how you can even run the thing. A hacker cannot just download data and run the dev build. They need hardware and software. They need keys to license this hardware and software. You have to compile things. You can't just have an executable and hope for the best. You have to then build something in an IDE with proper linking libraries, with a proper compiler. You have to know the language. There's all sorts of things you have to do to set something up. It's not just download data, run game, especially when you're talking about a PS4 or a PS4 exclusive where it's only on a platform. So you have to get dev kits, you have to get dev kit hardware, all sorts of setups. Now, it's possible they just downloaded a video. I don't know why a developer would store video on a dev server. Like you wouldn't really need to do that if it would be like small clips, but the chances of that are very strange and odd and low. So there's a few other possibilities, but the most likely thing is it was a dev. A dev did it. They had all the tools, they had all the hardware, all the clearance, and that was that. So despite it being the work of hackers are being bombarded with comments in which people claim Sony and Naughty Dog are lying, apparently they're just trying to cover up the fact that this alleged former employee didn't get the bonuses they were promised. Again, if it was hacked, that does not disprove that the story of the bonuses were false. It just leads more credence to it being a hacker, but does not disprove that the footage was from a developer because of the content of the footage. A hacker cannot get that footage and run it on their local PC. It would not work that way. According to Bloomberg News reporter Jason Schreier, Naughty Dog actually did the opposite of holding back pay. Most importantly, rumors of this being an act of protest by a contractor whose pay was robbed were not true. Naughty Dog actually extended pay and healthcare benefits for contractors due to COVID. Again, this is incorrect. I have never heard of a contractor being paid in any sorts of benefits. Extended pay, it could be bonuses, it could be overtime pay, it could be whatever. That's pretty standard. But healthcare benefits? No, I've never heard of any contractor getting that. That's the whole point of going full time. You get paid less, but you get benefits. You get stock options. You get time off. You get vacation pay. You get whatever. Contractors don't get any of that. Yet the conspiracy theories soldier on because of wallopers? I don't know what that's. Is that even a word? Is that, maybe he spelt it wrong, but journalism, English, what's that? I believe there's a singular reason for this. It's because this vocal minority of angry internet babies, we're angry internet babies, using facts and reason and logic and analysis, are pissed off that the story isn't catered to them. The protagonists of reality. Who are the protagonists of, what are you talking about? I don't know what you mean by story being catered to them. The story is about playing as another woman who kills the hero of the previous story. And there's not enough context, or the context we did see was so bad, it just seems like a revenge plot for the sake of having a revenge plot because you get to do it. It's a shock value. There's no innate reasoning to do that. And plus, to kill off a protagonist is really hard work. You have to first build up the character from an existing chapter and say, wow, I really like this character. And then in the second chapter, you go, I'm going to kill this character off, and you better have a damn good reason to do that. You can't just go around killing off protagonists and replacing them. There has to be, it's a twofold problem, and I addressed this in my previous quick plot analysis video. You have to demonize that previous protagonist, meaning what they did, which they thought was good, was actually bad. They were actually a villain, but from their perspective, everything was good. That can work that way, but that's just half the job. The second half is then you have to make the new protagonist even better or justified as a result of that antagonist, or now that antagonist, or the previous protagonist. And that's tough, because you pretty much have to undo everything that you just did in chapter 1. Okay, so it can be done. You can demonize Joel. You can do it. It's just hard. And unfortunately, the writing skill of The Last of Us 2 does not look up to the challenge. It's really that simple. If you want to demonize a hero, you got to do it right. Over the years, video games have done their best to pander to them. So has every industry ever. I want fresh bread. No, you get pizza. Well, I like pizza, but that's not what I'm here for. It's like you give people what they want. If they want a sequel to The Last of Us, well, The Last of Us, I believe the first game was about a father-daughter relationship between survivors of a pandemic with the zombies. You got to have the same content therein. You have to continue the story. And you have to do it in an appropriate way. There's ways of doing it with new characters, with ensemble casts, with multiple casts or multiple protagonists. It's a lot of work to get it right, but you can do it. And you certainly do not do it by having protagonists kill off other protagonists. Every bit of corporate messaging makes them believe art is for them and artists are their servants. Yes, that is, again, every industry. What do you think work is, buddy? You go to work, you're an artist, someone asks you to make art, you're like, okay. If you don't make the art, you get fired. Pretty simple stuff, huh? We do this for you, the gamers, exactly. Says the corporate overlord who wants to sell a product. Exactly, that's their job. Don't like something, no worries, we'll patch it out. Unfortunately, yeah, that's the case of nowadays because of crunch, because of poor deadlines, because all sorts of reasons that things get released and there's bugs that didn't crunch or there's bugs that never even found. And that's kind of a standard practice in software. A life cycle should be repeated as much as possible for release, but this is not a bad thing. Obviously, it's a bad thing because you don't get a perfect product, but there's no chance of getting a perfect product. But that's why you have support. That's why the developers keep releasing patch after patch as the months go by. You see that with Steam updates. It's a very common practice. It's basement-dwelling shitlords who complain about characters' breast sizes. I don't think anyone complained about Ellie's breast size. She was a girl in the previous story. Now she's a young adult woman. I've not heard one argument about that. And if you mean in general, I've never heard that in general either. I've never heard people say, "Oh, her development as a woman is too small," or whatever character. There's plenty of attractive-looking females out there. The reboot of Lara Croft, I think, much more realistic-looking than polygon tits or whatever they were back in the early 2000s. So, and even then, it wasn't that big. So I don't see I've never heard this argument. The only thing I could think of that had a large buxom woman was Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. It was the bartender. And I remember that because the bartender was played by Jennifer Hale. But that was an NPC. So don't know what this guy's talking about. If they're realistic, it's an SJW game and it's censorship. No, I don't think we've ever equated breast size to SJWs. Don't know what you're talking about. And I don't know what censorship is. How does that censorship? What are you talking about? If they're massive cartoon tits, that's just artistic integrity. Oh, artistic integrity. Oh, no. A journalist throwing around the artistic integrity term. But instead of defending a developer, they're attacking. They're attacking the gamer. And they're making it sound as if the gamer is using that as a defense, when in fact, it's the developer or BioWare, the previous owners of BioWare, the doctors, used that in a blog post once. And of course, journalists over the Mass Effect 3 ending fiasco. Artistic integrity. You can't go around changing the ending to the game. That's a horrible idea. The creators have artistic integrity, even though what they made was absolute garbage. Wow, what a crafty little game journalist. As if the average gamer wouldn't hear that term and go, "Ooh, you shouldn't have said that." Anyone who's played The Last of Us, which I haven't, knows Ellie is gay. Don't care. And the shitlords use the fact as a shield. Nope, I've never heard anyone complain Ellie is gay. They're complaining about the story and how it's gone, as well as the working conditions of Naughty Dog. Although that's a secondary complaint. The first complaint is what they did to Joel, obviously. I like the first one, so I'm clearly not mad that the game is progressive. They'll say. Okay. Except Ellie's sexuality was only explored in the optional DLC. In The Last of Us 2, it's clearly a part of her character, and she even has a love interest. Again, no one really cares. Not a big deal. I've never heard this argument. All I've heard are the problems of Abby. Abby is the one that kills Joel. That's the problem. Okay? You create another protagonist and you kill off a previously loved or beloved protagonist, and it's not told well. There are ways to do it. They're not doing it right. All the buildup, all the concern and care we have is gone. We're now angry. Imagine if Game of Thrones was one house, one story. It was whatever, how many seasons, and you got to know the Starks, for example, and there's obviously 2 or 3 main Stark characters, and they just die in the second chapter. They get killed off because the Baratheons hate the Starks, or whatever. Pick a house, right? And they kill them off. And now it's a story about the Baratheons. You're like, what the hell? I just got to know the Starks in chapter 1. Now you're teaching me a new set of characters? What was the point? Why did you get me so invested in all this story and focus it on a protagonist and then kill them off? Is that all this is? Are we going to get chapter 3 where we just kill off Abby and Ellie? Like, what's the point? It's just, oh, now this person dies. Now this person dies. That's not a story. You can't just have people dying for the sake of shock value. That's a writing technique. You can't base an entire story around a writing technique. So we won't go into spoiler territory, but The Last of Us Part 2 also features another form of representation, and the reaction to this has been abhorrent. So he's not going to tell us. But apparently, this game journalist, Mr. Kirk McKeand, thinks, I'm deducing here, that he thinks that Abby is transgender. I could be wrong. I have no idea whether she's a female who happens to be very butch and muscular, or she's a he or whatever. Why is he so sensitive about? Why can't he make that mention? All he had to say was, "Hey, apparently there's a character in the game who might be or who is transsexual." That's all he had to say. And we'd be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I could see some people might not like that," and they could tell us why that's good or bad. But he won't even say that. Forms of representation. Gee, I wonder what aisle he's on the political spectrum. Again, another thing we dislike about these stories, as we've learned about Neil Druckmann. I think that's his name. He's clearly a Sarkeesianite. Not just a leftist, not just a progressive, a Sarkeesianite, the worst kind of media critic I can think of. And he wanted to make his basis for this game, originally called Mankind, the virus only attacked women, and it was too misogynistic. Which is, I didn't know viruses had hatred towards women, but writers. I came into work this morning and spent the first hour of my day banning people in the comments for being hateful, disgusting human beings. You know what? I get a lot of crap on my channels. I don't ban people. I argue with them, and if they are absolutely useless to the conversation, or they're so biased there's no point in me talking to them, I just stop. Sometimes I remove them because they say disgusting things, but that's directed at me, not to a fictional game. I don't care what their opinions are, whether they like or dislike a game. It doesn't bother me. It's when you attack people directly and you've tried to have a conversation. I don't just outright ban people. That's silly. And this is only a portion of the turd pie that Naughty Dog employees have been served over the past couple of weeks. Yeah, you know what? Those Naughty Dog employees have had it really rough. Not only do they have to put up with working conditions and not getting their pay and having to sign further legal documents to get their pay, they got to put up with white knighting by people like this because they want to defend a company who is not making a product for their fans, or at least the intelligent fans, who are concerned about quality and storytelling and want their characters to have value and meaning, not removed from the narrative because they want to have a buff female chick kill them. That's a big punch in the face. To have your heart ripped out for the sake of representation, if that is exactly what this person even thinks. What a strange argument. They can't respect a character of representation. It's not that we can't respect them. It depends on the context of the story. It's the fact that the character is killing off a beloved character for no reason, aside from representation, which is what it sounds like. Neil Druckmann has also shared some of the anti-Semitic comments he's been receiving. Yeah. I'm sure he gets lots of crap. Everyone gets lots of crap. Boo-hoo. Then there's the sad people who have created Twitter accounts just to reply to tweets with spoiler videos. That's, if you want to put content on social media, be my guest. The predictable bastards will do it here, no doubt. Aw, he's predicting people are going to not like what he has to say on his own website. Aw, are you going to delete those comments too? Aw, I'm so sorry, Kirk. Even the Assassin's Creed Valhalla stream chat was littered with spoilers for The Last of Us Part 2. That's awesome. Well, I hear the last Valhalla is not doing too well in the gameplay department either. Yet these people dare to hide behind the working conditions at Naughty Dog. We're not hiding behind them. We're reporting the news. We're reporting what people who have worked there have said. And we're not using that as a shield. We're saying it's a bad story because the leaks show it to be a bad story. What does this guy not understand? How is he equating the working conditions at Naughty Dog being bad to bad story? What are you talking about? Any criticism of them is shut down, and they claim you don't care about the workers. No. Never heard that argument. But if you truly believe that, ask yourself this. How would you feel if you worked out your fingers to the bone on something for 5 years, and the conversation about it turned out into one of the most toxic events in video games right at the final hurdle? Well, you know what? A lot of those people, they quit before they got that far. They didn't want to work on the game anymore. They did their part. They either finished their contract or they left because it was painful. It was not worth it. They didn't like their working conditions. Those are all the reveals we're getting from previous workers at Naughty Dog. It's not the best place to work. It used to be. It's not anymore. They're not getting any benefits. They're not getting their whatever pay they asked for. They had to sign documents to ensure they get their final check because they're not allowed to talk about the working conditions. There might be more to the story this person's not listening to. I don't know. Maybe has his head in the sand. Maybe he's ignorant. We don't know. I can only imagine how demoralizing these past few weeks have been for the team at Naughty Dog. Okay, you know what? The people who work on the job, unless they were promised royalties, their job is done. They've gotten paid their normal paycheck. What do they care what marketing does? Hopefully marketing is smart and lets the leaks be what they are and not cause this leak or this problem to explode. Unfortunately, they did the opposite. They hired a legal team called Mudo TNT Limited and started DMCAing everyone online. Who even mentions The Last of Us, the title, not even talking about the leaks, just mentions the title. And everyone's been slowly getting their channels back after 2 weeks of realizing this fake lawyer group, whatever they are, have no teeth. They're not going to sue a bunch of random kids or a bunch of random YouTubers or social media people. It's all just to annoy them. So you're stirring the hornet's nest for no reason. Because Sony doesn't know what to do. The worst part is there's nothing anyone can say or do to change their minds. Yes, there is. Talk to them like adults. See what they think. You're painting them with a big brush. That's not how you treat people. You treat them as individuals and you get to know them. And once they reply a second or third or fourth time with the same crap, then you just say, hey, I tried. I did what I could. I do that on my channel all the time. Someone has a differing opinion with me, I get to know them. And if they keep repeating themselves after I've addressed their concerns, then we can't talk anymore. We can't teach each other anything. They're refusing to budge. I can only be so nice and so patient. That's all you have to do. And I'm not saying you have to do that with everyone, but pick one that is, took the effort to reply to you and respond. That's all you got to do. This person, nope, they're all bad. They're all a bunch of basement dwelling, whatever he called them. Whatever. Shitbirds. Shitbirds. I've never heard that before. It doesn't matter that there's proof this leak was external. It doesn't matter who got the data. It matters what the data is. It looks like it's from a dev. A hacker can't just build a dev kit. It doesn't matter that the guy on VG247 has written an article pointing out the absurdity of it all. Well, you did, and you're a joke. You're missing the point. You're white knighting Naughty Dog when you should be looking at the overall picture. You should be looking at what the fans think, why it's so vocal, why it's been blowing up every day for the past few weeks. None of it matters. Well, none of it matters to you if you don't know the problem. You haven't addressed it. That's because the anger was never really about that. The anger is about storytelling quality. They produced a product that the fans don't want. I've gotten so many comments, I don't know who these people are, random comments on my channel saying, thank you, you saved me $60. And all I did was spend a few dozen minutes looking at the plot, trying to be as calm and impartial as possible. I don't have a foot in this race, I don't have any concern. I have never played the first game. It doesn't bother me what you do with your money. I'm here to talk about good storytelling. And from the surface level, what the leaks show, that's not how you tell a good story. The anger is there because Naughty Dog dared to make a game story that seemingly strays from the norm. Again, this guy does not understand what that means. He's equivalently to saying that, Rian Johnson dared to do something different. He dared to subvert your expectations. Say that about Knights of the Old Republic, Part 2. Say that. Talk to Chris Avellone. He'd be happy to talk to you why he'd want to subvert the understanding of what it means to be Sith or Jedi, what the Force actually is. And then go say the same thing to Rian Johnson. See how far you get. Who's happy to share their philosophy of what that means? Who do you think might be a better storyteller? This isn't about trying to do something different. This is about trying to do something well. Doesn't matter what you want to do, it's how you do it. You want a trans character or a butch female protagonist that kills off the previous protagonist? Sure. You have 2 mountains to climb. Prove that, and then you could write a good story. If you don't prove that, you're going to write a bad story. There's no question about it. You cannot demonize your fan base. You have to work through the narrative. You can't just say, it's time for women to kill if Joel was Julene or Joelle or Jolene or whatever, it wouldn't make any difference. You're still killing off a beloved character. Or if Abby was Abe, it would make no difference. It's no wonder most developers play it safe. Well, playing it safe could be many things. I mean, if you write a good story, you don't want to do too many crazy things. A good story is a good story whether you play it safe or you try different things. But you should never try experimental things and then go to production without testing it first. After all, it never was about working conditions. It's about hate. I would agree. It's not about working conditions. That's part of it. It's about good storytelling. It's always been about good storytelling for The Last of Us. Yes, the visuals add to that. The visuals give the storytelling more value. It gives the characters more believability. They look real. They look and sound real. If Troy Baker or whatever the guy's name was who talked about having an open mind, and he's just a voice actor. He has nothing to do with production. He's just a guy. It's like, yeah, you got to have an open mind here, man. That's the first flag raised. What happened? Is this going to be I'm trying to think of another scenario of this, but that is something to think about. When the artists start raising flags, like, okay, guys, come on, you really gotta Gotta go down the progressive rabbit hole with me, and just accept into your hearts that the beloved character you liked from the previous story is gonna get killed by a revenge-seeking transsexual and or buff chick. That's a tough sell. So, but yeah, we have journalists now trying to defend, not only defend a company, which they're not doing a very good job, as they admit that the working conditions were in fact bad, but trying to demonize all the shitlords for having a knee-jerk reaction saying, I don't like this thing. There's nothing wrong with you saying online what you like or what you dislike. Obviously, it should be done in a respectful manner. You shouldn't be badgering anyone, but there's nothing wrong with it. Tell people what you want. Tell people what you don't want. That's the best thing you could tell to a producer or a person who wants to give you a product or service. Tell them why it doesn't work. And talk to them. Hopefully they'll talk back. But do it in a respectful manner, and that's the best thing you could do. Always voice your opinion. Never stop leaving comments. Never stop making videos. Never stop tweeting. It's the only way these people are going to figure it out. Because I'm surprised that Neil Druckmann got so far as he did with the first game, considering his ideology. And now that he was VP, he was able to realize his dream of an Anita Sarkeesian game or whatever, and it's going to ruin the franchise, sadly. Well, thanks for listening, guys, and stay tuned probably for more Last of Us 2 information as the weeks go by. Have a great day.